I recently came back from Perth and I acquired quite a large number of clothes from my mom. A lot of these clothes are about y2k, late 90s style, which have come back into fashion, which is why I snapped them up. But I feel like some of them do need a bit of alterations and flipping in order to make them just a little bit more wearable and exciting. And so in this video, I'll be doing some very simple alterations that will just zhuzh up an item. And I hope that it will be helpful in giving you guys some inspirations for how you can zhuzh up your items as well. So the first item that we have is this dress. I wouldn't really consider this as a thrift flip because my mom actually did half of the job. She ended up taking off quite a lot of length off of this dress. This used to be past my knees and now it's kind of mod style. And this sort of lace was already on the bottom and I wanted to just reattach it to the new hemline. So I'm going to do that as a bit of a warm up. This is the before. It looks good, but since I have the matching lace, I think it'll look much better with it. The first thing I'm doing is laying out the lace to see how high up I want it on the hem. And I think it looks really cute with the flowers sticking out just at the edge of the dress. Then I'm just pinning the lace onto the dress to make sure that it doesn't move whilst I'm sewing. And I'm not entirely sure now why I decided to push the dress through the side of the machine, but I'm pretty sure there was a good reason for why I didn't want to sew the other way. And yeah, it's a bit annoying to push all that fabric through, and you're not really meant to do it like this, but sometimes it's much easier to sew in a certain direction, so I'd rather just do that. Apologies, I'm not in the frame at all, but I'm finished. It looks kind of even. Just checking through to make sure that there's no like spots where I've accidentally went over the hem and just stitched the lace. But no, it looks okay. How cute is this? And this is the end result. Such a simple change, but I think it really ties the whole dress together. And here's a close-up. And the next items are some long sleeve shirts that I'll be cropping. So we have this classic boat neck long sleeve. It sits kind of weird at the bottom for me, which is like the main reason why I want it to be slightly cropped. I'm folding the top inside to see how long I want it to be on me. Generally, I like crop tops to end just above high-waisted pants, which is why I tried this on with these jeans. Once I found the right length, I went ahead and pinned it in a few spots. Next, I laid the top out and marked where I've pinned it. In hindsight, this wasn't really necessary as I could have just followed the stripes. Then I cut it about 1.5 centimeters below that mark. I first went around the edge with a zigzag stitch to prevent any fraying. And then with the top inside out, I'm pinning the hem to make sure it'll be even when I sew it. And then I go ahead and sew it down with a straight stitch. And a very simple crop is done. I'm thinking of putting some hemming tape on the inside to make it a bit more neater, but I'll see after I iron out the hem. And this is the end result. It's a much more flattering length on me now. And the next one we have is this Guess turtleneck. These kind of gaudy designs are quite trendy at the moment, which is like the main reason why I got it. But I think it'll fit more of like the modern kind of Y2K aesthetic if I just crop it below the heart. Same as the first top, I'm marking where I want this top to end on me. And as I was doing this, I thought I'd try and taper this top in because it is a bit baggy and I would have liked it to not hang off on me. So my idea is to use the existing hem to make a band that gathers the top, kind of like the rip bottom of a sweatshirt. So to do this, I measured out how big I want that band to be, allowing a little over 1 centimeter seam allowance. And next I'm cutting it out and laying it up to the top to see how it'd look. I then put this band on me, and pulling it up to where I want it to sit, I mark out the amount I need to cut out so that it would fit tightly on me, and then I cut the excess off. With the top inside out, I'm attaching this band side to side in 4 or so places, as obviously it's a lot smaller than the top, and I'll need to gather the top as I sew. Now for the most tricky part. The fabric is already a bit fiddly and keeps curling in because I've cut it, but to attach this band I had to stretch the band a little bit as I sew, whilst ensuring that I'm gathering the top evenly. And of course making sure that I'm sewing everything straight. And this is the end result, so it's kind of like the top is sort of gathered. And before fixing everything up and doing like a bit of a zigzag stitch on the edges there, I'm just going to try it on to make sure that it doesn't look stupid on me. And luckily it turned out pretty good, so I went ahead and fixed the side and did a zigzag stitch all around my stitches. As I tried it on, I had an idea to make thumb holes in the sleeves, as they're really long. And I thought the best way to do that, without messing up the sleeve too much, is to sew in large buttonholes. This is the first time I've done this. I had to use a buttonhole sewing foot and settings, and then snip the middle. It didn't turn out too bad, I just needed to clean up the inside a bit better. And now let's ignore all of the cat hair that's ended up on this top, and I think it actually turned out alright. I think it looks kind of edgy and unique with the band at the bottom and the thumb holes, and I love that snatched waist. And then the last item that I wanted to crop is this, I guess, 70s inspired long sleeve. It's quite see-through. Now for the bottom of this one, I was hoping to see if I can kind of replicate sort of, what are they called? Lettuce tops, I think. The only issue is that I don't have an overlocker, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to replicate it with a sewing machine. And just like with the other tops, I've marked how long I want this one to be, and I'm leaving about 1.5 centimeters for seam allowance as I'm cutting. I'm following Ashley's tutorial on making a lettuce hem, and apparently you don't need to secure the edge, so I've just pinned down the hem on the inside. The lettuce hem uses a zigzag stitch with the longest length. And the trick to this is to stitch as close to the edge as possible, whilst pulling the fabric as much as possible. I'm so obsessed with the result, and I had to do it on the sleeves as well. I think this makes the top look super funky and much more trendier. I kind of want to do this on all my clothes now. And then I've got this dress. It's quite nice. My mom actually didn't want to give it to me because she thought it looked really grandma style, but I thought it actually looked quite cute and romantic if I take in the straps and kind of tighten them up, and it'll create a sort of like love heart shape in the neckline. And then I was thinking of doing something to the bottom. I'm not entirely sure what, but I was thinking if maybe I could like ruche it up a little bit, or maybe leave it as it is. I'll have to see when I try it on. With the dress on, I'm playing around with where I want the straps to be gathered, and they look better when they're gathered towards the bottom. And then I tried to think of different options for how I can ruche up the bottom. I've marked out the point where I want to sew to gather the straps, and I'm using a basting stitch to do this, which is a long straight stitch with a loose tension. I just sew a straight line across the strap, making sure that I leave some thread at the end. And now I need to find the right thread to pull, and gently gather the fabric together until I get the desired effect. And next I'm fixing the strands into the strap by hand so that it all stays. I'm pretty bad at hand stitching, so it is a little messy on the other side, but luckily the dress is lined, so I just stitched it all into the lining. And now for the bottom, I marked out a line where I wanted the ruffle or ruche to start and end, and I'm pretty much doing the same thing as I did with the straps. And I think it turned out pretty nice. I love the vintage 1950s kind of neckline that the straps have created. The ruche at the bottom is a lot more subtle than I wanted it to be, but it does create a nice tulip shape to the skirt. And the last item that we have is this dress. I love the top, especially like the detail here and how like it sort of hugs your body. The only thing I don't really like about this dress is the bottom. I'm not a huge fan of how the skirt just sits. So I'm wondering if maybe I can like taper it in or maybe cut it a little bit shorter to make it just a little bit more flattering on me. I looked to Pinterest for ideas as I really didn't know what to do with this dress, and in the end I decided to cut a slit and call it a day. With the dress on, I marked out where and how high I want the slit to go, And then I marked out a line perpendicular to the hem and cut along it. I decided to use a double fold hem as this fabric is pretty thin and I was scared that it would fray. This is pretty much where the fabric is folded over twice so that the raw edge is fully inside the hem. I go ahead and pin it, making sure that the hem is even all the way and that it sort of tapers at the top. In hindsight, I don't think this is the best way to do a slit, but we're rolling with it. This was one of the worst fabrics I've ever worked with, as it was really slippery and for some reason I had trouble pushing it through the sewing machine. So this isn't the cleanest job, but at least it's done, and I think in the grand scheme of things, because the fabric is so flowy, it's not really gonna make too much of a difference. I made a few stitches back and forth to secure the slit so that it wouldn't open further. And I think this change really improved the dress without drastically changing the skirt. I even ended up taking this dress to Bali and I've gotten some pretty cute pictures. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please give this a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you didn't. I'm thinking of pivoting towards more crafting and sewing videos in the future, so this will help me decide whether I should make more videos like this.